Okay, so this will be a quick lesson. We're going on isolating variables, and we're going to specifically look at when they have exponents. Okay, so we have two questions here. The first question, okay, here's our number one, is we just want to isolate x. Okay, so that means x is our variable. Well, the problem is we have a power here. Okay, this is to the power of 2. The opposite operation of a power is a root of 2. Okay, so what that looks like is, I'm going to just draw a little thing up here. If we have some base to the power of 2, I'm going to say the opposite is to root that same number. Okay, that's what those symbols look like. So when they say bring something over, you know, we use the opposite operation to bring something over. When we go to bring it over, we're left with x is equal to the second root of 64. Now, in this case, or sorry, in a lot of the cases, they won't write the number 2 here. They just kind of leave it like that. It looks like a square root. But if there's nothing there, we assume the number is 2 because we're looking for two numbers that multiply to equal this base. Okay, so we do square root in our calculator. And I know, do you happen to know what square root of 64 is by chance? I'll help you out here. 64 square root is 8. Okay, so I just want to bring this to your attention though. The square root of 64 is 8, but there's actually two answers to this question. When there's nothing in front of this, we assume this is what, positive or negative 8?
Positive.
Positive, okay. So we go to test this theory out. What's positive 8 multiplied by positive 8? What do they equal? Put it in your calculator.
Multiply?
Yeah, and that's what that is. When you're finding square root, you're looking at two numbers that multiply.
64.
That's right, and that's what the square root meant. The square root meant two numbers, that's why we're looking at the second root, that multiplied to 64, and the two numbers were 8 times themselves. Two numbers that are times themselves. But what about if I called this negative 8 also? What's a negative 8 times negative 8?
Negative 64.
Well, try it.
Oh, positive.
Positive, because a negative times a negative is a positive. So literally they don't teach us a lot in elementary school stuff. There's actually two answers to the root of 64 here. It's technically x is equal to, and a lot of times they represent it as plus or minus 8. Now your teacher probably just wants the positive version, but it's not wrong to write both. There are two answers to that. Okay, so let's.
Is that with everyone?
With any of the second roots. So when you're looking for the square root of something, there'll be two answers to it. Okay, as long as the number underneath is not a negative. Okay, so here's our next one. Well, we got to do some bed math. So let's equate this first. What is 25 plus 11? Once you get your calculator out and try it.
36.
Okay, so now how do I isolate this 36? How do I move over this squared? What do I use?
The square root.
Square root.
36.
That's right. So
6.
that's right. So the square root of 36, is it just 6?
Positive 6 and negative 6.
Yeah, so let's represent it like that. We say plus or minus 6. There's two answers to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what they want you to do there when you're isolating variables that have exponents.